Back for another edition of In the Huddle. Carl Dukes put them up along with Jason La Canfora, Brian Baldinger. Guys, we talk NFL every single week. It is In the Huddle, and guys, we're counting down. I mean, I keep saying it, week 14, 15, 16. Before you know, we're going to be in the playoffs. But before we get to specifically this week's schedule and what's going on around the league, we have to talk about the biggest story that's hit, and that is Bill Belichick accepting the job at UNC, heading to college football. There's no debate, the greatest NFL coach to ever do it, and the jury to prove it. But I will tell you guys, as we talk about this, I have my reservations. And when this news broke yesterday, I was like, are you serious? Because at first, Jason, I thought he was using this as a ploy to maybe, all right, look, I'm viable. Look how, teams and people around the country view me after not getting a job. Let's start there. Give me your initial thoughts on Belichick, one, going to the college game, and then two, guys, is he going to succeed?
Well,
go ahead.
I was on a show yesterday before the news broke, and I thought it was going to be a good move for Coach. And I thought he was going to take the job. I'm in the same building, NFL Films, with him. His car is never – it's there all the time. He's never not there. And I just seen him interact with people. Like, Bill's got a personality on air. Then he's got his own person. But I think he's going to have his kids with him. His sons are going to coach with him. I think you'll see Josh McDaniels. I think Nick Saban will drop on by. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Like, he'll have a GM, because all these teams, all these colleges are hiring a GM. They handle the NIL. They handle the money, the finances. That's not what he's going to do. But I believe that if you bring an 18-year-old kid, like, he's not going to go on the road to, Atlanta, Georgia to go get themselves a quarterback. But he'll have he's organized. He'll have his recruiting staff combing the country. They come in there, and he's going to tell them, you want to play in the NFL? This is your dream. This is the path. All these kids that transfer and get in the portal. Okay, you want to get things fixed? We're going to give you this opportunity. This is what you got to do. I just think these kids are going to be, all right, this is Bill Belichick. They know who he is. And I do think ultimately, and I won't make this too long, ultimately all good coaches are great teachers. And nobody can teach the game at any position better than Bill Belichick. And these kids are they're in that guppy mode right there. They need to be taught the game, understood the fundamentals, build the toolbox. I think he's going to be great at it. And I think he's going to have success. I think it's going to energize him a great deal. I think he's looking out there at the landscape going, okay, the Giants, what do they got? If they want to bring him to come back. If you look New Orleans, they don't have a quarterback. What do we have? I think he's looking at the landscape going, he's tried to win games without a good quarterback, and he couldn't succeed. So I think he looked at maybe limited opportunities, and maybe no opportunities. And I want to coach. Let's put the band together. Let's go have some fun.
Yeah. On the surface, it's shocking. If you had told me 2 months ago that this is how the Belichick coaching saga would end, I'd have said,
well, Jason, not to cut you off, but Brady, Gronk, and Edelman were just on Fox on Sunday, and they threw it out at them, and they said absolutely not.
Right.
Those three guys know him better than anybody. So to your point.
So okay, there is that. We have to acknowledge that. But I also think the more you think about it and marinate on it, this guy's accomplished, Carl, you said it, more than any modern coach in any sport. And the bottom line is he didn't have a whole lot of interest last year. People had a million reasons to talk themselves out of Bill Belichick. Yeah. Now, I would say these are many of the same owners who also thought their quarterback was better than Lamar Jackson, and they didn't need to give Lamar Jackson a phone call when he was essentially a free agent, right? So, he's in some good company there in that these clueless morons, many of them, don't know.
Maybe one in Atlanta,
Just saying. So I think that stung him. And I think the proposition of having to sell himself to these billionaires, most of whom he doesn't respect, who inherited their wealth, who inherited their opportunity, who have shown no ability on their own to build a winning culture or winning mentality. I think the idea of being spurned by them again is probably something that kept him up at night. And so he's always working. He's always downloading people. And to your point, Baldy, I think he had a pretty good idea of the coaching landscape and what the openings are going to be and what those teams are willing to pay. And are they going to let me bring Belichick Coaching Incorporated to their building. Because if they're not, I'm sure as hell not doing it their way, right? And I'm not giving them Belichick light where they're picking my GM and they're picking my players and they're telling me what I can and can't spend. And they're not giving me the budget I want for my staff. Like, I'm not doing it that way.
Yeah.
And so I think you started to see, like, where are the matches? Now, I thought it was going to be the Raiders because I thought Mark Davis would have said, do whatever the hell you want. And Tom Brady being there, maybe that's a good thing or not a good thing. But, like, I did see that as, like, okay, that's a match. A lot of these other ones, probably not. So when he gave that list of demands to Chapel Hill, and they came back within 24 hours basically saying, we can do that.
Yeah.
I think he's like, who else? Which of these billionaires is going to do that? You know what I mean? Like, do I really want to spend 8-9 hours talking to these fools? Because I'm thinking like he thinks, convincing them why they should hire me. Like, they should be convincing me why I should go work for them. And in Chapel Hill, like, hey, couple of conversations, and here's my book, and are you going to do it? Yeah, we'll do it.
I think they're going to win the ACC next year. I think it's going to be that dramatic and that quick.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, look, SMU came in and they played in the conference championship.
SMU got themselves a quarterback now.
And nobody
talk about it next year.
Yes, and nobody thought that was possible. So here's where I'm at on this, and we'll move on, guys. We're talking about Bill Belichick accepting the job at UNC. One, all these college coaches I know, especially now, and through the years, and Baldy, you've lived it, Jason, we've been around it our entire lives. There is, this thing, and I'll use a phrase that a coach once told me, I can sell ice cubes to a kid in Iceland, right? I mean, like, you are a salesman. Guys, Bill Belichick isn't a salesman. And here's the other side of this for me. And again, it's hard for me to sit here with the resume and say that it's not going to work. That I think that's difficult. But here are the obstacles, and looking at Belichick and how he handled the situation in New England, which was, and he said here recently, the college game is like the pro game. So it's very close, similar now as how it's being operated.
Yeah.
But in college, here's the fundamental thing that he is not, I don't believe, great at. Bill Belichick is not a guy that caves. And in college, you need the kids more than they need you. And now in this day and age, when you're talking to an 18 and 19-year-old kid, there's got to be some salesmanship, man. I mean, you're not Kirby Smart, who's winning back-to-back national championships, and kids are clamoring to come because they know they're going to be in it every year. This is a different deal. So for me, I'm looking at this, guys, and I'm going, Belichick, we know this in New England, his way or the highway. You're going to kick out 5-star kids of your program because you can't cave a little bit. A lot of these college coaches give in because they need the talent to come there. I'm not saying Baldy, he can't coach it.
Every single point you're making is a good counterpoint. There's no question that you can definitely build. You could definitely build a spreadsheet here of the strengths and the weaknesses. And what you're speaking about are all things that we're all going to watch for. We're all going to watch for it, and we might be coming back here, a year from now, and you're like, we play this back, and you could be hitting dead on every one of these things. It's possible.
Because here's the last thing. I just see Belichick. Guys, imagine, you said it, he may not be traveling to California or wherever the hell he needs to be, but the kid comes in for a visit, right? And we know Bill. He's a tremendous mind. But Bill is literally like, you want to play quarterback? And the kid's going to be like, well, what do you offer me? And Bill's like, here's the deal. And if it's not what that kid wants, guess what happens now? They say peace.
Yeah.
Like, that's where college football is. And I think that's the challenge. Belichick is so used to people going, you want to be here? You want to be in New England? Of course I want to be in a championship program. Well, these are the terms.
My counter to that would be, I believe the NIL budget is more than Bill Belichick's salary. So, like, I think he understands that part of it.
It's true.
Right? Didn't he demand $20 million a year and like NIL endowment? And he's
Mason, it was 4, and UNC promised him to.
So like, I think he knows how the game's played. Like, I don't think he's going in blind. Like, if I got the money behind me, I can be tough love Bill Belichick, and they're still going to come.
Like, I don't know this to be fact, but I remember the year that Spags was out of coaching before he went to Kansas City. And he came to NFL Films. His wife lived in Philadelphia. He was living in Philly. So he'd come over every Monday. And, I've got all these video screens. And all he did that year was study the college game. Because he knew all of the things that were in college were coming to the NFL, whether it was up-tempo, spread, you name it. And so how to defend the spread. And it's worked for him. And I have a feeling that Bill's been down there in his little lab. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's just been at night studying Georgia, studying SMU and what they're doing, and studying Oregon and what Dan Lanning's doing. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been spending as much time studying the college game as he has been getting ready for all the shows for the NFL.
It's going to be interesting, guys. Belichick in the college football ranks now. And remember, he's leaving on the table as we turn the page here and talk about some other things, including tonight's Thursday night game as we record this podcast. He's leaving on the table becoming potentially the all-time winningest coach in NFL history. I mean, that's a big deal. He's only 13, I think, wins away, guys. And, for him to say I'm going to spend, even if it's 2 years, that's 2 more years away from the league to potentially achieve that goal. If you want to be on the mountaintop, my opinion, you got 6 rings. Jason, now I'm the all-time winningest coach in NFL history. Nobody could ever debate anything about Belichick.
No, but maybe that's just how little of importance it is to him. I don't know, to go take down Don Shula, maybe it doesn't even, maybe that's not how he thinks and what's even important to him.
All right. Baldy, you could absolutely be right. I want to talk about this Thursday night game because I think we get a good one, guys. Rams 49ers. We're heading into week 15. We talked about this last week. Rams are dangerous, man, right? I mean, yeah, and I think you called it, Jason. You said, I think this is a spot when they played the Bills last week, and I'll be damned, look what happened.
Well, that game was Matt Stafford's masterpiece. What he does, I've really been studying the Rams hard the last month. What it comes down to is they have certain concepts. It doesn't matter if you're playing Buffalo or who you're playing. The concepts hold up. They beat the Saints on a play where they bring Nakua across the field in motion. They flip it to him on the outside. He's got blocks. He accelerates. He finds the path. They win the game. Did the same thing last week to Buffalo to put the game on ice. They have these concepts of getting the ball to the wide receivers out of a variety of formations and motions, and it works. And Stafford is excellent at putting the ball right on the tee. And then their timing routes down the field are ridiculous. And so, when Stafford doesn't get hit, he didn't really get hit last week, he's as dangerous as anybody in this game. And the young kids on defense, look, they gave up a bunch of points, so I'm not going to rave about them. But all they do is play hard. Jared Verse, Fisk, Kobe Turner, they've got something going on there. And San Francisco doesn't look like they have the speed or the ability to get to the quarterback. I know they had a bunch of sacks last week, in a really one-sided game. But, I feel like this is a game where the Rams could go to San Francisco and win this tonight.
I'm with you, Baldy. Look, we now have almost a season sample size of when the Rams skill players are all available. So you got 16 games where Stafford, Kyron, Puka, Cooper Kupp are all starting and playing the game. They're 11-5 in those games. They score over 26 points a game. Their third down conversions soar. Their red zone offense production soars when they've got the full complement of cards for McVay to play. So there's that. McVay has been an animal in December. This is his time of year. Now, Kyle has had McVay's number. We're all aware of that. But McVay, in the really, really big spots, like a playoff game, McVay's got it. And tonight, to me, this is a playoff game. So I do factor, that in as well. Bosa might play. I don't know what they're going to get there. Trent Williams is still out. I tend to think that becomes a factor in this game against this Rams defense.
Who's running the ball, Jason? Who's running the ball for San Francisco?
I mean, we could say it doesn't matter. Scheme, Alex Gibbs, right? But I'm with you,
McCaffrey. You go McCaffrey, Mason, Garendo, and then what? Taylor? It's limited.
Yeah. I tend to think if San Francisco wins this game, it's because Kittle goes off. I mean, Kittle is the guy who this quarterback really trusts. Kittle's the guy showing up in the red zone when not a lot of other people are. But San Francisco's special teams are god awful, and San
All year
Francisco's
long.
been terrible in the fourth quarter
In fact,
all year.
Jason, they played week 3 down in Los Angeles, and Jake Moody missed a field goal that could have put him up 10 with 2 minutes to go. And Rams got great field position, threw a ball to Tutu Atwell, and next thing you know, it was they got the ball back and kicked field goal and won the game by 3. But like their field goal special teams have been nothing, not the least bit special all year.
Yeah. So when I look at all that, I'm going to take the 3. I don't mind the Rams on the money line, but I think this game goes over. Like I think there's 50 points or more in this ball game. And yeah, if San Francisco loses this one,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't see a road for them to do a whole lot postseason wise.
fellas, we're running out of time. I mean, that's the other part, right? For these teams that are on the bubble per se. Let me ask you guys this: why are we not talking about Kyron Williams more, guys? This dude has 12 touchdowns, and he did it last year.
He was, in fact, last year, Carl. I know Christian McCaffrey won the rushing title, but Kyron Williams missed some games during the season. He actually led the league last year in rushing yards per game, over 100 yards a game. Like, he is a great player.
I agree.
He's a good player. Like, he catches the ball well. He'll protect Stafford when they want to blitz him. And then between the tackles, like, that guy is very skilled, very skilled. And he finishes runs, and he finishes in the end zone, to your point about the touchdown runs. He had 2 last week. Like, he is a very good player.
All right, one last thing about the Rams, and this has nothing to do with the game. How good is Sean McVay, guys? O'Connell leaves, it doesn't matter. Raheem Morris leaves, he takes Zach Robinson with it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Think about how consistent McVay has been despite his coaching staff being, right, just taking different places around the league. And a lot of those guys are successful. We're seeing it. What's it say about it?
I mean, Matt LaFleur, like you just go through the list. I mean, he's built a tree as quick as anybody's built a tree. That whether it's Bill Walsh or Holmgren or Andy Reid, like his tree his tree is the league. It's the new West Coast offense. Like, everybody wants a piece. So he coaches the coaches. He coaches the players. He's got a great general manager. They work side by side with Les Snead. All the social media stuff they put out during the draft, it's fun to watch. Like, they're really plugged in. Like, that guy, and it looks like he was wavering a couple of years ago. He won a Super Bowl, whether he was going to walk. I don't know. He got the young wife. He's got the family thing going. Like, he's just anybody that's around him. Like, that guy he is a CEO, man. Like, he is large and in charge. He's amazing.
He is. Fellas, 4:00 window Sunday. It's in the Huddle. Subscribe, like us, follow us on YouTube. You can watch us in the Huddle Pod. Bills Lions. Some people are saying Super Bowl preview. I don't know. But I cannot wait, because I think this has, and again, indoors, all right? So the Bills, we're not worried about the weather. It's at the Lions. The Lions are favored in this game, and rightfully so, I think, at home. But, man, I think this is going to be a hell of a matchup on Sunday, Baldy. And I think for what we're seeing with Josh, he accounted for 6 touchdowns last week.
I know.
Now, they lost the game, but, damn, he played well.
Yeah, he played great. But Detroit, you have to really study hard now to see who's playing defense for Detroit.
True.
I mean, they are really thin on that side of the ball. They are using all their – I mean, they signed Jamal Adams on Wednesday. He was playing on Sunday. Like, that's where they're at in the linebacking thing. So, and they've been decimated all year long. But the one constant, the offense hums. And it's always – they start every game the same. Let's give it to Montgomery.
Yep.
Let's give it to Montgomery. We're going to get Gibbs in here, but we're going to work Montgomery early. We're going to get it to Amon-Ra. Like, their ability to start every game. Like, the Eagles never start fast. There's teams out there that struggle the first quarter. They hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And I think Buffalo are going to have their hands full with this running attack. And that's how they start, and everything comes off it. Jared Goff is under center. It's play action. We're going to feed the run game. And then the other part, and I'll let you go here, Jason, is like last game against Green Bay, 5 attempts on 4th downs. Like, to them, if it's 3rd and 5, to the rest of the league, it's a passing down. To the Detroit Lions, we're going to give it to Gibbs. If he gets the first down, fine. But if it's 4th and 2, we're going for it. And it doesn't really matter where it's out on the field. And so their mentality is we're going to be aggressive. We're going to run it. We're going to go for it on fourth downs. If we get stopped at the 31-yard line like they did against Green Bay, we'll have to live with it. But their offense is really, I marvel at everything that they're doing up front.
Yeah, Baldy, I'm on the Lions here, and it's because of the offensive line and the run game. And I just think they can shorten this game. They can speed Josh Allen up a little bit on the road in a dome where it's going to be loud, make him chase possessions. We're gonna shorten the game by turning fourth down into third down and by running it down your throats and dominating time of possession. And I like David Montgomery, 14 and a half attempts. Like, I'm over that. Now, he's usually around 15. But, Baldy, I look at Mr. Inside. Like, to me, you got Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside, right? Gibbs and Montgomery. When you look at how light in the ass the Bills are up front in that front seven, I think they're coming right after him. Like, I think if the Montgomery first drive goes well, guess what? He might get the second drive, too. And if they have a lead in the second half, Montgomery's the closer. So I think
they've got a very clear formula on how they want to win games. And everybody knows their role, and maybe the difference is because it's hard to get the ball beyond the Buffalo Bills secondary.
Yes.
But if there's one guy who can do it, it's Jameson Williams. Like, he's their home run hitter, and they don't use him a lot. But when they hit him, like, it usually ends up in the end zone. The thing that you just mentioned, though, Jason, it's so true around the league right now. I always look, on the stat sheet about how many possessions a team gets. And Detroit, they limit you sometimes to 8 possessions.
That's nothing.
Like, if you turn it over, you're kicking a field goal. Like, all of a sudden, Josh Allen's sitting there just looking at the clock going, am I ever going to get back on the field? Yeah. That's how they kind of play the game, and they choke you out. They just don't give you the opportunities to go score 6 touchdowns like Josh did last week.
Guys, I like the over in this game. Look, if there's anybody that can score with these guys, it is the Bills. You go back to their Miami game back on November 3rd. They scored 30. They scored 30 against Indy, 30 against Kansas City, 35 against San Francisco. Last week in a losing effort, 42. They can score. So I like the over in this.
Yeah.
But I do agree with your assessment of the philosophy of how Dan Campbell, the mindset of Ben Johnson, AG, the Aaron Glenn, their approach, they're all on the same page, and that's why they are where they are right now.
One last thing, just to button it up here, Carl. Like, they went for it on 4th and 2 with 40-something seconds to go a game against the Packers.
Yeah.
And really, all Dan Campbell said is, I want to finish the game with the ball. That mentality, like, I'm not giving it to Jordan Love for 10 seconds. I'm not leaving it to chance. I'm going to control the game, and I'm going to finish the game. We'll kick the field goal, but we're not going to leave any time on the clock. We're going for it on 4th and 2. Even if it's a chance we give the ball back. Like, that's a mentality now where I think if you want to win a Super Bowl, I know it backfired last year in the championship game.
Yeah.
But I think if you're thinking about winning a Super Bowl, that mentality, that's a Super Bowl winning mentality.
Fellas, as we turn the page and talk about Steelers-Eagles, first, before we get into the game, what the hell is wrong with A.J. Brown? What's going on there? These guys have won 9 in a row. Is he about to screw this up?
So, look, here's the thing. In this 9-game win streak right now, I know you got all the numbers right there, Jason, so you can spit them out too, but Jalen Hurts has thrown 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. When they were 2-2 and getting blown out by Tampa, they would turn the ball over, like, frequently. So they stopped turning it over. They've got probably the MVP that they hand the ball off to. They run it 56% of the time, the league best. Like, he's only averaging 21 pass attempts a game. Now, could he have thrown it to A.J. instead of Devontae Smith for a touchdown? He could have, yeah. Could he have thrown it to A.J. instead of Grant Calcaterra for a touchdown? He could have. But they still scored a touchdown. So at some point, it's about winning games. And every single guy that gets long on the tooth in this business, they want to win a Super Bowl. Yeah. Whatever it takes. They all say the same thing. I don't care about stats. I don't care about if we're winning, I'm happy. At some point, you go, the formula is working. I will contribute. Like the last time the Steelers came to Philadelphia, A.J. Brown caught 3 long touchdown passes and torched the Steelers 2 years ago. Like, that might happen again. But Jalen's not putting the ball up in harm's way right now. He's just not. He knows, he's smart enough to know this formula is working. Even if it's against Carolina Panthers and it was a nail biter. this formula is working. And he's listening to it. He knows what he is the godfather to A.J. Brown's daughter. So, there is a family connection there. But, I don't know, Brandon Graham came out, kind of lit it all up saying, this is a personal thing now. I don't know if it is or not. I think it's somewhere in between. But, I don't know. Mike Tomlin's coming to town. He's trying to win that division. There ain't no chirping in Pittsburgh about who's getting the ball. I know that.
No, and George Pickens isn't getting the ball, right? Because he's probably not playing. And I think that's reflected in this line. But give me those 5.5 points. And I have sprinkled Pittsburgh on the money line here as well. Mike Tomlin, his last 11 times as a road dog, he's won 9 of them straight up. He's covered 11 of his last 16 as a road dog. I just feel like the Steelers aren't going to beat themselves here. Like the Eagles might. I'd actually like the Eagles a little more if this was a road game. Like if the Eagles have a slow start and AJ's pouting on the sidelines a little bit and Sirianni.
The Bluebirds are out, man. The Bluebirds are out.
Sirianni gets caught turning around, looking at a fan who's booing him. Like I can just paint a picture.
They haven't played a good game at home all year, Jason. They played horrible at home. Carolina. Yeah. Like Jacksonville, Cleveland.
Yeah, they're 1-4. Yep, 1-4 against the spread at home. Pittsburgh's been, like I told you, a road covering dog, and they're 10-3 are the Steelers against the spread on the season. Like they're 6-1 against the spread since Russ took over. Can they run the ball on the Eagles the way I would like to say they could? If as someone backing the Steelers here, probably not. But I don't think the Eagles are going to run the ball on them the way they're accustomed to running the ball on people.
It's interesting because somebody said to me the other day, hey, Russell's really cooking. I'm like, is he? Is he really? Like, I watch Russell in that offense play. It puts me to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, it is about as basic. But Russell's smart enough to know right now, especially without Pickens. Mike Williams is just, he's just a guy out there. Like, he's not been a part of the offense outside of the first touchdown catch.
Yeah, right.
But honestly, Russell's smart enough to know that they lead the league in takeaways, okay? They've got 16 fumble recoveries. Their defense is scoring touchdowns. They've got 28 takeaways in 13 games. It's ridiculous what they're doing. And Russell's smart enough to know, let the defense keep doing what they're doing. Let's don't screw it up. We'll run it. We'll kick field goals. Maybe I'll get a little triple option to Van Jefferson for a touchdown. We'll sneak one in. I mean, they basically, they function and they know their role. And the defense is carrying them. It's been good for them right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's going to be an interesting matchup. That is also in the 4:00 window. And,
one stat on the game, it's interesting to me because I live in Philly, so I hear both sides all the time. The last time the Steelers came to Philadelphia and won was 1965 at Franklin Field.
Wow.
They're 0-10 coming to Philadelphia. Now, none of these players have anything to do with that stat, for the most part. But it's one of those stats you just kind of 1965 Chuck Noll. Well, that's a long time in this rivalry.
Guys, let's talk about Packers Seahawks because, again, here are the Seahawks with Geno, who's thrown for 3,400 yards. His touchdown interception, ratio is not great, 14-12. But here they are. They have a shot to do something. And I think this is a big spot for Seattle, more so than I do for the Packers. Even though the Packers, as you said, Baldy, coming off that loss against the Lions and how Dan Campbell handled that situation at the end of the game. What do you think here, Jason? 2.5, over under 46.5. I mean, I'm looking at this game and I'm doing that face, right, where you're kind of going,
Yeah, I don't love it. It's not one of the games that I've made much of a play on. I grabbed the over at 46. LaFleur as a road favorite is 9-3 to the over in his career. Jordan Love out on the road in prime time, 5-1 to the over. I do like Green Bay here. I don't love them. I'm guessing that by the time we get to Sunday night, I've put some money on Green Bay here, especially if it's under 3. Geno Smith has 15 interceptions in his last 14 home games. He's thrown a pick in 10 of his last 14 home games.
Yeah.
Like something's off when he's at home. It's like he tries to do a little too much. They tend to start games slow. They get behind. He seems like he's throwing picks at the end of the first half a lot at home when they're chasing games. And look, Green Bay, all right, I get it. They're not a juggernaut. But like they've lost to Philadelphia in Brazil. They lost to Minnesota, pretty good team. They lost to Detroit twice. 20 total points they've lost those games by. Like, it's a pretty good football team. And Seattle's on a great run, and I love what McDonald's doing also. But it's hard to win 5, 6, 7 straight games in this league. So I do, Baldy, like Green Bay here. But I got nothing but respect for what Seattle's done coming out of that bye. And I'll tell you what, we can talk about all the receivers who changed hands at the trade deadline. Ernest Jones might have been the biggest trade at the trade deadline.
Okay.
You look at Seattle's defense before he got there and since he got there, it's a difference.
And the play of the rookie, Therese Knight, the two of them. The linebacking play is much improved. The defense is playing great. Like they honestly understand Mike McDonald's concepts. Tariq Woolen is back to looking like Tariq Woolen from his rookie season. Devin Witherspoon is just like, this is going to be a great game. The offense now goes through Jackson Smith-Njigba, though.
Yeah.
The offense goes through him. That's the guy that's beating teams right now. And Tyler Lockett is still there, and DK is still the big play guy. But this offense goes through Jackson Smith-Njigba. It has changed. Zach Charbonnet had a career day last week against Arizona. I think it's going to be a great game. Like, I honestly think this is going to be one of these games that's going to be a nail biter. It's going to come down to probably the final possession. But it might come down to what you're talking about, a Geno Smith interception and maybe trying to force one too many.
I'm only bringing this game up because of the spread. I don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time on it because I think we all agree the Ravens will probably win the game against the Giants. But 16 points, that's a lot, fellas.
It's the most in Giants history. Giants have never been a dog like this before, ever.
16 in the NFL? I get it. We've seen some bad teams, but are the Ravens more likely win? We said it. You said they better. That's the only reason I'm bringing this up. What is the motivation here for the Ravens and what's going on with them right now?
Here's the motivation for the Ravens to cover what you're just talking about.
Okay.
This is a game. This is like a baseball game, Jason, where you go, Juan Soto goes 0 for 4 on Tuesday. But Wednesday, they're getting the number 3 pitcher, and he goes, 4 for 4, and he jacks 2 out of Citi Field for the Mets. But, honestly, this is a game where guys go get their numbers. Like, Derrick Henry hasn't had a huge game recently. Like, he goes and gets 180 against his team. Lamar is back in the MVP, competition with 3 touchdowns. Like this, they're going to go get their numbers. The defense is playing better over the last few weeks. Like, that's Drew Lock back there. Maybe he runs for a first down here or there. Maybe he gets the ball to Malik Neighbors every once in a while. But, this is where you go get your numbers in this game if you're the Ravens. Just pad your stats in this type of a game.
My fear as a bettor here is that the Ravens' key guys don't play much in the second half because this game gets out of hand and you always worry about a backdoor cover. I actually love Justice Hill in this spot. I think Justice Hill is going to get a lot of run in the second half of this game. Over 11.5 rushing yards. I think Justice Hill will have a run over 11.
Get that on the first carry.
Yeah, Justice Hill over 26.5 scrimmage yards. If you look at Justice Hill in games, the Ravens have gotten a 3-score lead or more. Scrimmage yards, 54, 96, 48, 58, 26.5. That's where I am. Derrick Henry, long rush. Not over 115 rushing yards. I don't know if he's going to play the second half. But will Derrick Henry have a run of 21 yards or more in this game? Yeah, he will. He's had 9 games with a run of 27 or more this year, and the Giants give up a lot of long runs. Even Lamar, I know he's saying, hey, my mom was mad at me. I didn't run more against the Eagles. I don't know if they want Lamar running like crazy in this game. I don't think you're going to have to. That's for next Saturday.
Yeah.
That's for Pittsburgh coming to Baltimore a week from Saturday. That's when I think Lamar might have to run for 100 yards.
Yeah. It's interesting. I just wanted to bring that up. Before we get out of here, excuse me, it is in the huddle, guys. Carl Dukes, Brian Baldinger, Jason La Canfora. I want to just talk about this because everybody around the country is talking about it, and that is, should the Atlanta Falcons play Michael Penix? Now, they're playing Monday Night Football. They are on the road against the Raiders. They are favored by 4 points despite they've lost 4 in a row. And guys, Kirk Cousins has not thrown a touchdown in 4 straight games. They got humiliated in the fourth quarter by the Vikings. It was a 21-21 game, and yet they fall apart. So this is the conversation, and I just want to get your take on this because it is a big part of what's happening with the Atlanta Falcons right now. And if they lose, God forbid, Monday night to the Raiders, who are arguably the worst team in the league, we think O'Connell's going to play. But, guys, that could be a 5-game losing streak, and who knows how Cousins plays. It just feels like this is trending in the wrong direction. Baldy?
Well, I mean, look, they haven't won since week 9 when they beat the Cowboys. And so that's 6 weeks now without a win. Now, you can couch what Kirk Cousins is doing any way you want. This is more than a slump. This isn't a slump. He's never played like this in his whole career. Now, he is what he is. Like, the arm is dying. Like, Kyle Pitts is, forget it. Like, if they're not getting the ball to Mooney or to Drake London, the ball's not it's either being intercepted or it's incomplete.
Yeah.
Like this, I almost feel like every rookie quarterback has improved this year, has shown signs that they can win games, whether it's Drake May right now, or pick a rookie, Bo Nix. Like, I feel like Michael Penix could rescue this team. His talent alone. Like, you might have to go run for some first downs. He can run. I just feel like if they want to, like, I know I'm doing Tampa at the Chargers. And it's a tough game for Tampa to go out there against a good defense, but we'll see. I mean, if they win the game, they're going to win the division. But I feel like if they want to still win this division, I know what they paid Kirk Cousins, and I know what Raheem is saying. But I feel like it's more than a spark. You need better play from the quarterback position, and I feel like I've seen enough of Kirk in the last month. That was supposed to be his big day last Sunday.
That's right.
And he did throw for a lot of yards, but they couldn't finish drives. And they got in a shootout, and Sam Darnold just lit him up. Like, nobody was missing Kirk Cousins in Minnesota last week.
No.
And so nobody. So I just feel like, man, it's a tough decision for Arthur and for Raheem, but I almost feel like they don't have a choice right now.
It was time to put on your big boy pants on the plane ride home from Minnesota and make the change right then and there. Like, they've wasted another week. Like, you need to, right? Like, if it's about getting in the playoffs and winning, you need to start looking at this other thing now. You need to give yourself a runway to start building this kid up. Like, yeah. You should have seen enough to say, look, if it's abject failure and whatever, Penix, like, he's peeing down his leg, and we're down by 14 in the second half, we can always bring the old man back in there and try to steal a game. But we need to see what our pistol run game looks like with Michael Penix. We need to see what our 2-minute offense looks like with Michael Penix. We need to see Michael Penix's legs in the red zone and see what that gives us. Like, to me, it's mismanagement. And Arthur Blank's worth more, like, the money to him, come on, whatever. Like it shouldn't be a real hard sales pitch.
You're saying, Jason, the Christmas receipts from Home Depot this year?
You know what I'm saying? Hey, boss, I'm sorry. This isn't what you want to hear, but here's my 10-point plan with Michael Penix the rest of the year, and this is why we got to make this move, boss. Finances be damned. We got to have one of the highest paid backups in the league. It happens, but I think we can get to the playoffs with this other kid. We got to start the process now.
Here's what's crazy, guys. This is their fault. They drafted Penix. Nobody in the league has a first-round pick that's at quarterback that was projected to be ready to play immediately, sitting on the bench as the quarterback that's starting hasn't thrown a damn touchdown in 4 weeks. It's just they created this, and now we don't want to do anything. It's the craziest thing. Fellas, it's going to be – Baldy, you got something to add?
I'll just say one thing. I mean, they drafted Michael Penix. Like, when right when it happened and we came on, we talked about it.
Yeah.
When we said, look, this is the only time the Falcons are ever relevant is when they have great quarterback play. Vic and Matt Ryan. I mean, I go back that far. I know there's Bartkowski and other guys. But, like, that's when they've been relevant. Like, if you make a mistake with Kirk Cousins and the guaranteed money in the contract, you make the mistake. Everybody makes them. In every sport, everybody makes them. But if this kid truly is the future, like, let's build it right. Let's start it right now. The future can start now. if he is what I think he is, and he was part of a quarterback class that looks pretty good because we've seen Bo Nix like just take off. Like, okay, like start it now, start it early.
We get 2 Monday night games, by the way, Falcons at Raiders and then Bears at Vikings this Monday night. And then obviously, guys, we're getting to the holidays. We got football on Christmas. I mean, it's going to be great.
Saturday football.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, for football lovers, we get this college football playoff, which actually starts December 20th. So, guys, this is a great time to be a football fan. And we're all over it. Hey, subscribe, like us. Follow Baldy, check out his breakdowns. Follow Jason, read him in the Washington Post. Follow me, put him up, see Dukes. We talk all things NFL, and we appreciate you guys being here. We're back next week. All of this stuff will play out. We'll be talking about it with you. Guys, have a great weekend.